It begins like any other night on a quiet road, the kind of moment that feels ordinary, almost forgettable. A car moves along under the dim glow of streetlights, the world around it calm and still. But within seconds, that calm is interrupted by flashing red and blue lights cutting through the darkness. A police officer has initiated a traffic stop, something that happens thousands of times every single day. At first glance, there's nothing remarkable about it. Just another driver being pulled over. Just another routine check. But what unfolds over the next few minutes turns this ordinary situation into something unexpected, something surreal, and something that no one present will forget anytime soon. The officer approaches the vehicle with a composed and professional demeanor. His voice is steady, his posture controlled. He explains the reason for the stop clearly and directly. The driver had been veering off to the left multiple times and had failed to come to a complete stop at a stop sign. These are simple traffic violations, the kind that usually lead to a warning or perhaps a ticket. But as the interaction continues, the officer begins to notice something unusual. The driver's behavior feels slightly off, not aggressive, not overly defensive, but just enough to raise concern. The questioning begins in a standard way. The officer asks if the vehicle belongs to the driver. The response comes casually. It's not his car, he explains, it's just a rental. His tone is relaxed, almost too relaxed for someone who has just been pulled over. The officer follows up, asking how long he has been renting it. The answer is vague, just a couple of days. Nothing out of the ordinary on the surface, but something about the delivery makes the interaction feel different. Then comes a question that shifts the tone of the entire encounter. The officer asks what the driver is doing in the area. It's a simple question, one meant to establish context, but the answer that comes back is anything but ordinary. I'm on a world tour. For a moment, the officer pauses. There is a brief silence, as if the words need a second to settle. A world tour? The officer asks for clarification, trying to make sense of the statement. A what? He repeats. A world tour, the driver says again. Now there is visible confusion. The officer presses further, asking what exactly that means. What kind of tour? What is he doing? And that's when the driver says it. I'm Justin Timberlake. The name hangs in the air. It's a name that carries global recognition, a name associated with music, fame, and decades of success. But in this moment, on the side of a quiet road, it feels almost out of place. The officer doesn't react with excitement or disbelief. He doesn't acknowledge the claim in any dramatic way. Instead, he continues exactly as he would with any other driver. Do you have your license? The driver says yes, and just like that, the situation moves forward, grounded in procedure rather than personality. Whether the claim is true or not doesn't change what comes next. The officer begins to conduct a series of field sobriety tests. His instructions are precise and deliberate. He explains each step carefully, ensuring that the driver understands what is required. Feet together, arms at the sides, keep the head still, follow with the eyes only. The process is methodical, designed to assess coordination, balance, and focus. But as the tests begin, it becomes clear that something isn't quite right. The driver appears nervous. He apologizes multiple times, his voice carrying a hint of unease. At one point, he begins the test too early, unable to wait for the officer's signal. He quickly corrects himself, but the moment has already been noted. I'm a little nervous, he admits. The officer acknowledges this, but continues. Nervousness is common in these situations, but it doesn't explain everything. As the tests progress, the driver struggles to maintain consistency. His movements lack precision, his focus drifts. Small mistakes begin to add up. The walking test is introduced next. It sounds simple enough. Heel to toe, 9 steps forward, then turn and return in the same manner. The officer demonstrates the process clearly, showing exactly what is expected. But when the driver attempts it, the execution is far from perfect. His steps are uneven. He loses balance slightly. He struggles to maintain the heel-to-toe alignment. At times, he seems distracted, breaking concentration mid-step. Someone nearby attempts to help, offering guidance and counting aloud, but this only adds to the confusion. The driver tries to follow along, but the rhythm is off, and the mistakes continue. Throughout it all, the officer remains calm and observant. Every detail is being noted. Every misstep matters. This is not about a single mistake, but a pattern of behavior. After the walking test, the officer introduces another step, a breath test. He explains how it works in simple terms, instructing the driver to blow into the device as if inflating a balloon. But the response is immediate. No. There is no hesitation, no uncertainty, just a clear refusal. At this point, the officer has gathered enough information. The initial traffic violations, the performance during the sobriety tests, and the refusal to take the breath test all contribute to a single conclusion. The decision is made. You are under arrest for suspicion of driving while intoxicated. The words carry weight. They mark a turning point, a moment where everything changes. The driver reacts, not with anger, but with a mix of disbelief and mild protest. He insists that he was simply following his friends home, that he wasn't trying to cause any harm. But the process has already moved forward. There is no reversing it now. As the officer begins the arrest procedure, the atmosphere around the scene shifts dramatically. What was once a routine stop now feels intense, almost surreal. People nearby react with shock, struggling to process what they are witnessing. Justin Timberlake is under arrest, someone says, disbelief evident in their voice. It feels unreal, like something out of a movie rather than real life. There are pleas, questions, attempts to understand if anything can be done to change the outcome, but the answer remains the same: no. Because in this moment, it's not about who the driver claims to be, it's about what has been observed. The officer explains the situation clearly. From his perspective, everything has followed standard procedure. A traffic violation led to suspicion, suspicion led to testing, testing led to arrest. It's a process that is applied consistently, regardless of identity. As the situation continues, the driver attempts to lighten the mood at times. He makes a comment about his appearance, joking that his hair doesn't usually look like this. It's a brief moment of humor in an otherwise serious situation, but it doesn't change the reality of what is happening. He is being taken into custody. At the station, the environment becomes more structured, more formal. The officer reads the legal warnings, explaining the driver's rights and the next steps in the process. The driver listens and acknowledges that he understands. When asked if he will consent to a chemical test, he refuses again. He maintains that he meant no harm, that his intentions were not bad. The officer responds calmly, "I didn't say you did." It's a simple statement, but it carries a deeper meaning. Intent does not erase consequences. The situation is not about judging character, but addressing actions. The conversation continues, and the driver asks questions about the process. Is this normal? Is this how things usually happen? The officer answers honestly, yes, this is standard procedure. There is nothing unusual about the way things are being handled. In that moment, the reality becomes undeniable. Fame, recognition, identity, none of it changes the situation. The system operates the same way for everyone. As the night progresses, the driver learns that he will be held overnight. There will be a court appearance in the morning. There are no shortcuts, no exceptions, just the process moving forward as it always does. Despite everything, there is a moment of mutual understanding. The driver expresses appreciation for the officers doing their job. The officer acknowledges this, noting that cooperation makes a difference, even in difficult situations. But beneath that exchange is a lingering tension, a sense that this entire situation could have been avoided. Driving after drinking is often underestimated. People convince themselves that they are fine, that they are in control, that nothing will go wrong. But sometimes those assumptions lead to consequences that cannot be undone. This moment, on this quiet road, serves as a powerful reminder that no matter who you are, no matter what your name is, the rules remain the same. There are no exceptions, only actions and consequences.